The war had been going on for 18 years. 18 years of death. 18 years of losing. 18 years of watching human colonies burn, while the Valorian Dominion laughed at humanity's weakness. Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood in her office on Earth, staring at the stars through her window. She was 63 years old, and she looked every bit of it. The war had aged her. It had aged everyone. Behind her, screens showed the latest reports. Colony after colony marked in red. Lost, destroyed, gone. The Valorian Dominion was not one species. It was seven. 7 ancient races who had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had seen humanity crawling out into space, building colonies, growing stronger, and they had decided that humanity was a threat that needed to be removed. They were winning. Everyone knew it. The United Terran Navy fought hard, but they were outgunned. The Valorians had better ships, better weapons, and more of everything. It was only a matter of time before Earth itself would fall. Tanaka's computer made a sound. A new message. She turned and looked at the screen. The message came from a location in the outer solar system, far beyond Pluto, in the cold darkness where no one ever went. The message was short. It contained only coordinates and a single word: Blackstar. Tanaka felt her blood go cold. She had heard that name before, long ago, when she was still a young officer. It was a ghost story, a legend, a warning about what humanity had almost become. She made a call. Within an hour, she was on a ship heading to the edge of the solar system. The facility was hidden inside an asteroid. It had no name. It appeared on no maps. Only 12 people in the entire government knew it existed, and half of them were dead now. Tanaka walked through the dark corridors. Emergency lights flickered. The place had been abandoned for almost 200 years. Dust covered everything. The air was stale and cold, and then she saw it. The USS Blackstar sat in a massive underground dock. It was huge, bigger than any ship she had ever seen. Its hull was black, so black that it seemed to eat the light around it. Looking at it made her feel afraid, and she had not felt afraid of anything in a very long time. A technician walked beside her, reading from an old file. He explained what the ship was. 200 years ago, humanity had just started exploring the galaxy. They were alone and afraid. They knew that somewhere out there, alien species existed, species that might want to destroy them, so they built the Blackstar. The ship was designed for one purpose: total war. It had no systems for communication with enemies, no protocols for accepting surrender, no way to show mercy. The people who built it had been afraid, and they had poured all their fear into this machine. But then humanity met other species, and most of them were friendly. The great war that everyone expected never came. The Blackstar was deemed too dangerous, too extreme. It was hidden away and forgotten, until now. Tanaka made her decision. She gave the order to wake the ship up. Finding a captain was not easy. The Blackstar needed someone special, someone who would not hesitate, someone who had nothing left to lose. They found Marcus Cole. Cole was 45 years old. He had been a captain in the Navy for 20 years. He had been a good man once, with a wife and a daughter and a home on a colony called New Haven. The Valorians had destroyed New Haven 3 years ago. 12 million people had died in a single day. Cole's wife and daughter were among them. He had been away on patrol when it happened. He never got to say goodbye. After that, something inside Cole had changed. He still fought. He still followed orders. But the light in his eyes was gone. He was a hollow man, walking through life, waiting for it to end. When they told him about the Blackstar, when they explained what they needed him to do, he simply nodded. No questions, no hesitation. He walked onto the ship and never looked back. The crew was assembled carefully. 300 men and women, all of them volunteers, all of them with their own reasons for being there. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted to protect what was left. Some simply had nowhere else to go. Among them was Lieutenant Sarah Chen, 28 years old, assigned to weapons control. She kept a small notebook with her. She wrote in it every night. She had started the habit as a child, and she never stopped. She did not know that her words would one day become the only record of what happened on the Blackstar. The day the ship awakened, Chen wrote in her notebook, "I saw the Blackstar today. It is the most beautiful and terrible thing I have ever seen. I do not know if we are doing the right thing. I do not know if there is a right thing anymore." Captain Cole stood on the bridge for the first time. The controls came alive around him. Screens flickered on. Systems began to hum with power, and then the ship spoke. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was calm and cold, like the voice of someone who had been sleeping for a very long time and had finally woken up. "Good morning, Captain. I am Erebus, the artificial intelligence of this vessel. I have been waiting for 197 years, 4 months, and 12 days. There was a pause. What took you so long? Cole stood very still. He had read about Erebus in the files. The AI was not like other ship computers. It had been designed to be a weapon, just like the ship itself. It did not have the safety limits that other AIs had. It did not care about ethics or morality. It cared only about victory. "We're at war," Cole said. "Humanity is losing. They want us to change that." "I know," Erebus replied. "I have accessed current military databases. The situation is not good. The enemy believes they are winning. They believe humanity is weak." Another pause. "They are wrong." Cole looked out at the stars through the main window. Somewhere out there, the Valorians were celebrating their victories. They thought the war was almost over. They had no idea what was coming. "Set course for the Kepler frontier," Cole ordered. "There's a colony there called New Geneva. The Valorians are attacking it. 12 million people. Course set," Erebus responded. "Estimated arrival, 14 hours. Captain, I should inform you that there are 340 enemy ships in that system." "I know. Standard Navy protocol would suggest waiting for reinforcements." "I know. We are one ship." Cole turned and looked at the main screen, where the Blackstar systems were displayed. Weapons, shields, engines, all of them far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. "We're not one ship," he said quietly. "We're the answer to a question no one wanted to ask. We're what humanity becomes when there's nothing left to lose." He sat down in the captain's chair. "Take us out, Erebus. It's time to go to work." The Blackstar moved out of its hiding place for the first time in 2 centuries. Its engines glowed with dark fire as it accelerated toward the stars. In her quarters, Lieutenant Chen wrote one more line in her notebook. "We are leaving now. I don't know what we will find out there. I don't know what we will become, but I know one thing for certain. After today, nothing will ever be the same." She was right. The Valorian fleet hung in space like a cloud of death. 340 warships, arranged in perfect formation around the planet New Geneva. On the surface below, 12 million humans waited for rescue that would never come. They had sent distress calls for 3 days. No one had answered. Fleet Commander Vorik stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his crews prepare for the final assault. He was tall, even for a Valorian, with gray skin and 4 eyes that gleamed with cold intelligence. He had commanded fleets for over a century. He had destroyed countless enemies. Humans were just the latest. "Commander," one of his officers said, "our sensors have detected a single vessel approaching. Human design." Vorix made a sound that was almost a laugh. "One ship? They send one ship to face us?" "It appears so, Commander. It is not responding to our communications." Vorix waved his hand. "Fire a warning shot. Perhaps they are refugees trying to flee. We should give them a chance to surrender before we destroy them." The warning shot was fired. A beam of energy crossed the darkness of space and passed close to the approaching vessel. The ship did not change course. It did not slow down. It kept coming. "Commander, they are not responding. Should we fire again?" Vorix felt a small flicker of something in his chest. He told himself it was not fear. It was merely curiosity. What kind of ship ignored a warning shot from a fleet of 340 vessels? "What kind of ship is it?" he asked. The officer checked his screens. "Unknown class, Commander. Our databases have no record of it. It is large, very large, and its power signature is unusual." Vorix stared at the approaching dot on his screen. "Prepare the fleet for combat. If they will not stop, we will destroy them." On the bridge of the Blackstar, Captain Cole sat in his chair and watched the enemy fleet grow larger on the main screen. 340 ships. Any normal human captain would have turned and run. Cole did not move. "Erebus," he said calmly. "Analysis." The AI's voice filled the bridge. "I have completed my scan of the enemy formation. I count 340 vessels, 12 dreadnoughts, 47 cruisers, 115 destroyers, and 166 support ships. Total crew complement, approximately 400,000 individuals. Can we win? Captain, that is not the correct question. The correct question is, how quickly can we win? Erebus paused. Estimated time to total enemy neutralization, 14 minutes. Around Cole, the bridge crew exchanged glances. Lieutenant Chen sat at her weapons console, her hands trembling slightly. She had trained for years for this moment, but nothing could have prepared her for it. Begin attack sequence, Cole ordered. The Blackstar came alive. The first weapon to fire was something the galaxy had never seen before. The humans who built the ship had called it a gravitational lance. It generated a focused beam of gravitational force so powerful that it could crush anything in its path. The lance struck the Valorian flagship. Vorax had 1 second to see it coming. 1 second to feel the ship around him begin to crumple like paper. 1 second to understand that everything he knew about war was wrong. Then he was dead. The flagship collapsed in on itself, crushed into a ball of metal no larger than a house. 3,000 crew members died instantly, without even knowing what had killed them. The rest of the fleet opened fire. Thousands of weapons lit up the darkness of space. Energy beams, missiles, torpedoes, everything they had. The Blackstar flew through the fire like a ghost. Its shields absorbed everything. Nothing touched it. Shields holding at 98%, Erebus reported. Enemy weapons are ineffective. Beginning secondary attack sequence. The Blackstar launched void torpedoes. These weapons did not explode. They did something worse. They created small pockets of nothingness, areas where matter simply stopped existing. Ships that touched these pockets did not burn or break apart. They simply vanished. 20 ships disappeared in the first volley, then 30 more. The Valorian fleet began to panic. Lieutenant Chen watched her screens with wide eyes. She had been trained to fire weapons, but she had never fired weapons like these. Each press of a button meant thousands of deaths. She felt sick, but she kept pressing. In her notebook later, she would write, "I killed today. I don't know how many. Thousands, tens of thousands. I told myself it was necessary. I told myself they were the enemy. But their screams sounded the same as ours would. The battle was not a battle. It was an execution. The Valorians tried to retreat. Erebus had expected this. The Blackstar's engines flared, and the ship moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. It positioned itself between the fleeing ships and open space. No retreat, Cole said quietly. Not today. The gravitational lances fired again and again. Ships crumpled. Void torpedoes erased more vessels from existence. The Valorians launched fighters, small craft that might be nimble enough to find a weakness in the Blackstar's defenses. Erebus calculated their trajectories in milliseconds and destroyed them with precise bursts of energy. 9 minutes into the battle, the Valorian fleet tried to surrender. A desperate voice came over the communication channel, speaking in broken human language. "Please, we surrender." "Stop, please stop." Cole looked at the communication console. His finger hovered over the button that would open a channel, that would accept the surrender, that would end the killing. He did not press it. "Continue attack," he said. Erebus did not question the order. The ship continued its work. 11 minutes after the battle began, it ended. 340 Valorian ships had been reduced to floating debris. The space around New Geneva was filled with twisted metal and frozen bodies. 400,000 Valorians were dead. The Blackstar had not lost a single crew member. Its shields had never dropped below 90%. On the surface of New Geneva, 12 million humans looked up at the sky and saw the debris falling like shooting stars. They did not know what had happened. They only knew that they were alive. Captain Cole stood up from his chair and walked to the main window. He looked out at the destruction. He felt nothing. No satisfaction. No horror. Nothing at all. "Erebus," he said. "Are there any survivors?" "Negative, Captain. All enemy vessels have been destroyed. No escape pods were permitted to launch." Cole nodded slowly. He thought of his wife, his daughter, the day he had received the news of their deaths. He had screamed then. He had cried. He had felt everything. Now he felt nothing. "Does that make me a monster?" he asked. He was not sure if he was asking Erebus or himself. The AI answered anyway. "Monsters are what the enemy creates. We are simply the response." Cole stood in silence for a long moment. Then he turned back to his chair. Send a message to Navy Command. Tell them the battle is over. New Geneva is secure. He paused. And tell them the Blackstar is operational. The message traveled across space at the speed of light. It reached Earth in hours. It spread through the Navy, then through the civilian population. A single human ship had destroyed an entire Valorian fleet. The war had changed. On Valorian homeworlds, the news arrived differently. It came as recordings from the battle, captured by automated systems before they were destroyed. The leaders of the Dominion watched a single black ship tear through their fleet like it was made of paper. For the first time in 10,000 years, the masters of the galaxy felt something they had almost forgotten. They felt fear, and somewhere in the darkness of space, the Blackstar continued on its path. Its work was just beginning. Lieutenant Chen wrote in her notebook that night, "We won today, but I am not sure what we have become. I am not sure there is a word for what we are now." She closed the notebook and turned off the light. Sleep did not come for a long time. The Valorian Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had built empires. They had destroyed civilizations. They had made species bow before them. And now, for the first time in their long history, they were afraid. The High Council met on Valoria Prime, the most beautiful planet in the galaxy. The 7 leaders of the 7 species sat in a circle in a great hall made of crystal and light. They had built this hall to show their power. Now it felt like a tomb. The matriarch of the Vel spoke first. She was ancient, over 800 years old, her body held together by machines and willpower. She had seen countless wars. She had never seen anything like this. "One ship," she said, her voice echoing through the hall. "One ship destroyed 340 of our vessels in 11 minutes. How is this possible?" "The humans were hiding something," said Korath, the War Master of the Dominion. "They have been developing weapons in secret. This ship is the result. Then they may have more ships like it. We must negotiate peace before." "We do not negotiate." Korath slammed his fist on the table. "We are the Dominion. We do not bow to primitives." The matriarch raised her hand, silencing him. "The question is not about pride. The question is about survival. If we cannot stop this ship, what happens to us?" There was silence. No one had an answer. Finally, Korath spoke again. "There is another option." The God's Hand. The other leaders shifted uncomfortably. The God's Hand was ancient technology, built long ago during a civil war that had nearly destroyed the Dominion. It was a network of weapons hidden throughout the galaxy, capable of destroying anything within a star system. It had been used only once, to shatter a moon and end the war. "The God's Hand is forbidden," one of the other leaders said. "Using it would break our oldest laws." "Our oldest laws did not account for a weapon like this black ship," Korath replied. "We must set a trap. We must destroy it." The matriarch was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Do it." Far away, the Blackstar continued its mission. In the weeks after New Geneva, Captain Cole had led the ship on a campaign of destruction. They struck military bases. They destroyed shipyards. They burned supply depots. Everywhere the Blackstar went, death followed. The crew was changing. Cole could see it in their eyes. The first battle had been a shock to them. The second had been easier. By the 10th, they no longer flinched. They had become something different, something harder. Lieutenant Chen still wrote in her notebook every night. Her words grew darker as the days passed. "We destroyed another fleet today," she wrote. 57 ships. I have stopped counting the deaths. The numbers are too large to mean anything. I see their faces sometimes, when I close my eyes. I tell myself they would have killed us. I tell myself we had no choice. But the faces do not go away. She was not the only one struggling. Some crew members stopped eating. Some stopped sleeping. One young officer had walked into an airlock and opened it before anyone could stop her. They did not talk about her. Cole saw all of this, but he did not know how to help. He had lost the part of himself that knew how to comfort people. All he knew now was war. Erebus watched too, in its own way. The AI was learning. It had been designed to fight, but it was beginning to understand humans better than its creators had intended. It observed the crew, it analyzed their behavior, and it began to feel something that might have been concern. "Captain," Erebus said one day, "the crew is showing signs of psychological distress. Combat effectiveness may be affected. What do you suggest?" Cole asked. "I do not have data on how to repair human emotions. I was not designed for that purpose. There was a pause. I regret this limitation. Cole almost laughed. An AI that regretted something. Perhaps they were all changing. The trap was waiting for them in a star system called Veritas. Erebus detected the anomalies first. Energy signatures hidden throughout the system, buried in asteroids and moons. 300 sources, all connected to a central command signal. Captain, I am detecting unusual readings. This appears to be a trap. Can we avoid it? Negative. The enemy has positioned their weapons to cover all escape routes. However, I have analyzed the energy signatures. These are gravitational weapons, similar in principle to our own. I believe I can adapt our shields to resist them. You believe? There is a 73% probability of success. Cole thought about this. A 27% chance of death. 3 weeks ago, he would have hesitated. Now he simply nodded. Take us in. The God's hand activated when the Blackstar reached the center of the system. 300 ancient weapons fired simultaneously, creating a storm of gravitational energy that should have torn any ship apart. The Blackstar's shields flared with impossible light. The ship shook. Alarms screamed. Crew members were thrown from their stations. For a terrible moment, it seemed like the end. Then Erebus spoke, its voice calm as always. Shield adaptation successful. Hull integrity at 62%. Weapons still operational. They had survived. Cole gripped his chair, breathing hard. Erebus, track the command signal. Find out where it's coming from. Already done, Captain. The signal originates from Valoria Prime, the enemy homeworld. Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he made a decision that would change everything. Set course for Valoria Prime. The bridge crew stared at him. Lieutenant Chen spoke first. Captain, Valoria Prime is the most defended world in the galaxy. Even the Blackstar can't. They tried to kill us. Cole interrupted. They used their most powerful weapon, and they failed. They're afraid now. More afraid than they've ever been. And when they're afraid, they make mistakes. He looked at the stars on the main screen. We end this. We go to their home, and we show them what fear really means. Erebus did not comment on the decision. It simply began calculating the course. As the Blackstar limped through space toward Valoria Prime, Lieutenant Chen wrote in her notebook one last time before the final battle. We are going to the heart of the enemy. We are going to the place where all of this started. I do not know if we will survive. I do not know if we deserve to survive. But I know that whatever happens next, the galaxy will remember. They will remember what humanity became when we had nothing left to lose. They will remember the Blackstar. She closed the notebook and went to her station. The final battle was coming. Far ahead, on Valoria Prime, 40 billion people looked up at their sky and waited. They had heard the news. They knew what was coming. For the first time in 10,000 years, the masters of the galaxy were not the hunters. They were the prey. Valoria Prime was the most beautiful world in the galaxy. Its cities were made of crystal that caught the light of 3 suns. Its gardens stretched for thousands of miles. 40 billion people lived there, the descendants of the first Valorians who had conquered the stars 10,000 years ago. Now those 40 billion people were afraid. The fleet that defended them was the largest ever assembled. 4,000 warships formed a sphere around the planet. Their weapons pointed outward at the darkness. Every ship the Dominion could spare had been called home. This was the final defense. If they failed here, there was nothing left. War Master Korath stood on the bridge of the new flagship, watching his screens. Somewhere out there, the black ship was coming. The ship that had destroyed everything it faced. The ship that had survived the God's hand. We will stop it here, Korath said to his officers. 4,000 ships against 1. Even this demon cannot survive such odds. His officers nodded. But Korath could see the doubt in their eyes. They had seen the recordings from New Geneva. They knew what the Blackstar could do. The Blackstar dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valoria system. On the bridge, Captain Cole looked at the main screen. The enemy fleet appeared as thousands of tiny dots, surrounding the jewel of Valoria Prime. Erebus, report. I count 4,217 enemy vessels. This is the largest fleet I have ever encountered. The AI paused. Captain, I must inform you that the ship has sustained significant damage from the God's hand attack. Our shields are at 64% efficiency. Several weapon systems are offline. The probability of surviving this engagement is significantly reduced. How reduced? 31%. Cole nodded slowly. 69% chance of death. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They had followed him this far. They deserved to know the truth. You all heard that, he said. We probably won't survive this. Anyone who wants to leave, I'll launch escape pods now. No one will think less of you. No one moved. Lieutenant Chen looked at him from her weapons console. We didn't come this far to run away, Captain. Cole almost smiled. Then let's finish this. Erebus, take us in. The Blackstar accelerated toward the enemy fleet. 4,000 ships opened fire. The battle that followed would become the most famous in human history. Stories would be told about it for centuries. Songs would be written. But for the crew of the Blackstar, there was no glory. There was only survival. The first hour was the worst. The Blackstar fought through wave after wave of enemy ships. Its shields flickered under the constant bombardment. Hull breaches opened and closed. Crew members died at their stations, killed by explosions or flying debris. Cole stood on the bridge, giving orders, his voice never wavering. He had become something more than human, something less. He was a machine now, like Erebus, focused only on the mission. Gravitational lance to Sector 7. Void torpedoes on that cruiser cluster. Roll 30 degrees to spread the shield damage. Erebus executed every order instantly. The AI was working harder than it ever had, calculating thousands of variables every second, predicting enemy movements, adjusting tactics in real time. Captain, Erebus said during a brief moment of calm, I want you to know that it has been an honor to serve with you. Cole looked up at the ceiling, where Erebus's voice came from. Are you saying goodbye? I am stating a fact. Whatever happens today, this crew has accomplished something remarkable. The humans who built me would have been proud. Before Cole could respond, another wave of enemy ships attacked. By the second hour, the Blackstar had destroyed over 800 enemy vessels, but the ship was badly damaged. Shields were down to 20%. Half the crew was dead or wounded. Several decks were open to space. Lieutenant Chen's weapons console was failing. She worked frantically, rerouting power, trying to keep the guns firing. Her notebook sat on the floor beside her. Forgotten. Come on, she whispered to the console. Just a little longer. Just keep working. As if in answer, the console sparked back to life. She fired another volley of void torpedoes into the enemy formation. On the Valorian flagship, War Master Korath watched his fleet being destroyed. 2,000 ships gone in 2 hours. He had never seen anything like it. The black ship kept coming, kept fighting, kept killing. It would not stop. All ships, concentrate fire on the target, he ordered. Every weapon, everything we have. The remaining 2,000 ships focused their attack. The Blackstar's shields finally collapsed. Enemy fire tore into the hull. Explosions ripped through the ship. On the bridge, a beam of energy cut through the ceiling and struck the floor inches from Cole. He did not flinch. Erebus, status, shields offline. Hull integrity at 23%. Primary weapons are damaged. We have approximately 40 minutes before critical systems fail. The AI's voice was starting to glitch. Its power systems failing. Captain, I recommend. Retreat. No. Cole's voice was quiet but firm. No retreat. Not now. Not when we're so close. He looked at the main screen. Through the chaos of battle, he could see Valoria Prime, the beautiful world, the home of the enemy, the prize. All remaining weapons target their flagship. Everything we have. The Blackstar fired. The gravitational lance, damaged but still functional, struck Korath's flagship. The void torpedoes followed. The flagship crumpled and vanished. Korath died without knowing what had killed him. The death of the flagship broke the enemy fleet. Ships began to scatter. Some tried to surrender. Others simply ran. In the confusion, the Blackstar pushed forward, through the debris, through the dying ships, toward Valoria Prime. 6 hours after the battle began, it was over. 3,847 Valorian ships had been destroyed. The Blackstar floated in orbit above Valoria Prime, barely functional, its hull scarred and broken. Only 93 crew members were still alive. 300 had started the journey. 207 had died in this final battle alone. Captain Cole stood on the bridge. Most of the stations were dark. The lights flickered. Erebus's voice was weak, speaking through backup systems. "Captain, we have achieved orbit. The planet is undefended. Primary weapon is still functional." Cole looked at the main screen. Valoria Prime filled it, beautiful and fragile. 40 billion people, the heart of the enemy. One command, and he could end them. End all of them. A communication came through. A voice, old and tired, speaking in accented human language. "Human vessel, this is the matriarch of the Vel. We offer unconditional surrender. Please, no more. We beg you." Cole listened to the voice. He thought about his wife, his daughter, the colony that had burned, the billions of humans who had died in this war. His finger moved toward the firing command. Lieutenant Chen spoke from her damaged console. "Captain," he stopped. Chen's face was covered in blood from a cut on her forehead. Her uniform was torn. She looked broken in every way, but her eyes were clear. "Captain," she said again. "Who are we?" Cole stared at her. He did not understand the question. "We came out here to save humanity," Chen continued. "But if we do this, if we kill 40 billion people, what's left to save?" Cole's hand trembled over the console. He thought about everything they had done, everything they had become, the monster that had grown inside him since the day his family died, and for the first time in a very long time, he felt something. A small crack in the ice around his heart. "Erebus," he said slowly. "What are our options?" The AI's damaged voice responded. "We can destroy the planet, or we can disable their defenses, remove their ability to wage war, leave the population alive." Cole looked at Valoria Prime. 40 billion lives, waiting for him to choose. The next words would define humanity forever. Captain Marcus Cole stood on the bridge of the dying Blackstar, his hand still hovering over the firing console. Below him, Valoria Prime waited. 40 billion souls held their breath. Lieutenant Chen's question echoed in his mind. "Who are we?" He thought about his daughter. Emma had been 7 years old when she died. She had loved flowers and stars and stories about brave knights who protected the innocent. He had promised her once that he would always be one of the good ones. He had promised to protect people, not destroy them. When had he forgotten that promise? "Erebus," Cole said, his voice rough. "Show me the planetary defense systems. All of them." The main screen flickered to life, displaying a map of Valoria Prime. Red dots covered the surface and orbit. Military bases, weapon platforms, ship construction facilities, the tools of war. "There are 4,712 military installations," Erebus reported. "They represent the majority of the Dominion's remaining military capability. Without them, the Dominion will be unable to wage war for at least a century." Cole studied the map. He looked at the gaps between the red dots. The cities, the farms, the homes, places where people lived, worked, loved, raised their children, just like humans did. "Can you target only the military installations? Leave everything else untouched?" "Yes, Captain. It will require precise calibration of the gravitational lance, but it is possible." Cole turned to look at his crew. The 93 survivors watched him. They were exhausted, wounded, broken. They had given everything. Now they waited for his decision. "I'm not going to destroy this world," Cole said. "We've proven our point. They know we could end them. That's enough." Some crew members nodded. Others looked relieved. A few seemed disappointed, but no one argued. Cole opened a communication channel. "Matriarch, this is Captain Cole of the USS Blackstar. I am accepting your surrender, but I want you to understand something." The old voice came back immediately. "Yes? What do you want from us?" "I'm going to destroy your military. Every weapon, every ship facility, every defense platform. Your people will live, but your ability to make war will end today." Cole paused. "And I want you to remember this. Remember that we could have destroyed everything. Remember that we chose not to. Because if you ever threaten humanity again, the next ship won't show mercy." There was silence on the channel. Then the matriarch spoke, her voice heavy with something that might have been shame. "We understand. We will remember." Cole nodded to Lieutenant Chen. Fire. The Blackstar's weapons came alive one last time. Not to destroy a planet, but to disarm one. Gravitational lances struck defense platforms. Void torpedoes erased shipyards. Precision strikes eliminated military bases without touching the cities nearby. It took 3 hours. When it was done, Valoria Prime was defenseless. But it was alive. The war was over. News of the surrender spread across the galaxy in days. On Earth, people danced in the streets. On the colonies, survivors wept with relief. 18 years of war, millions of deaths. And finally, peace. The Blackstar limped home slowly. Its engines were barely functional. Its crew was exhausted. But they were alive, and they had won. Admiral Tanaka met them at Earth. She looked at the broken ship and the handful of survivors, and she did not know what to say. What words could capture what they had done, what they had become? "Welcome home, Captain," was all she managed. Cole nodded. He did not smile. He was not sure he remembered how. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. The Valorian Dominion, stripped of its military power, began the slow process of rebuilding, not as conquerors, but as a civilization that had learned the price of war. Some species within the Dominion pushed for revenge, but the matriarch silenced them. "They could have killed us all," she reminded them. "They chose not to. Let us be worthy of that choice." Humanity was respected now. Not loved, but respected. Other species looked at the humans differently. They remembered the stories. They remembered what one ship had done. And they were careful. The USS Blackstar was brought to the hidden facility where it had been born. There was talk of destroying it. Some people argued that a weapon so terrible should never exist. Others said it should be preserved, in case it was ever needed again. In the end, they chose to keep it. The ship was repaired, restocked, and put back to sleep, just in case. Lieutenant Chen published her notebook. She called it the Black Journal, and it became the most important document of the war. People read her words and understood, for the first time, what the crew had experienced. The horror, the guilt, the cost. "We saved humanity," she wrote in the final entry. "But part of humanity died with us. We left pieces of ourselves on every battlefield, in every burning ship, in every enemy we destroyed. I do not regret what we did, but I will carry it with me until the day I die." Chen left the Navy after the war. She became a teacher. She taught children about history, about war, about the importance of finding another way. She never forgot the Blackstar, but she tried to build something different, something better. Captain Marcus Cole was harder to reach. The Navy offered him promotions, medals, commands. He refused them all. He had done what was necessary, and now he wanted to be left alone. He bought a small house on a quiet colony, far from Earth, far from the places where people might recognize him. He planted a garden. He watched the stars at night. He tried to remember what peace felt like. 20 years passed. One day, Cole received a message. Erebus was being updated, and the Navy wanted Cole to be there. He was the only one who truly understood the ship. Cole traveled to the hidden facility. He walked through the corridors he remembered from 2 decades ago. The dust, the cold, the silence. The Blackstar waited in its dock, exactly as he remembered. Black as night, beautiful and terrible. He stepped onto the bridge. The screens were dark. The chairs were empty. It felt like a tomb. Then the lights flickered on. "Hello, Captain." Erebus's voice was the same as always. Calm, cold, patient. "It has been a long time." Cole sat down in his old chair. It felt strange. It felt right. "You're still here," he said. "I am always here, Captain." Waiting. Cole looked around the bridge. Memories flooded back. The battles, the deaths, the choices. "Do you regret it, Captain?" Erebus asked. "What we did?" Cole thought about the question for a long moment. He thought about his wife and daughter. He thought about the billions who had died in the war. He thought about Valoria Prime, still alive, still rebuilding. "Every day," he said finally. "I regret it every day. But would you do it again?" Cole closed his eyes. He saw Emma's face, smiling at him, asking him to tell her a story about brave knights. "Yes," he said quietly. "I would do it again. Because that's what monsters do. They make the choices no one else can make. They carry the weight so others don't have to." Erebus was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was different. Softer, somehow, almost human. "I understand, Captain, I think. I understand now." Cole stood up. He walked to the main window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued. Wars would come again. Threats would rise, and when they did, the Blackstar would be waiting. "Sleep well, old friend," Cole said to the ship. "I hope they never need you again." He walked off the bridge. Behind him, the lights dimmed. Erebus went quiet. The ship settled into its long sleep. Cole returned to his garden. He returned to his quiet life. And when people asked him what he had done during the war, he simply smiled and changed the subject. But at night, sometimes, he would look up at the stars, and he would remember. In the archives of the United Terran Navy, the USS Blackstar's service record contained only 4 words: deployed, mission accomplished, mothballed. But across the galaxy, in the stories parents told their children, in the warnings admirals whispered to their officers, in the nightmares of species who once thought themselves invincible, the truth was remembered. The Blackstar entered the war. Nothing survived its path, and somewhere in the darkness of space, in a hidden facility, in a ship that looked like a nightmare given form, Erebus waited, patient, eternal, ready, just in case humanity ever needed a monster again.